Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, starting with the Outdoor Living Hour this Saturday, Urban Farm will be joining us talking about wicking gardens.
Do you have a painting project waiting for you at your house? Arizona Painting Company will be in studio to show us how.
Then the show will be going straight down the drains. We'll be talking about what you should and shouldn't put down those babies.
Saturday mornings 8 to 11 on 92.3 KTAR.
KTAR News now.
It's 5 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Becky Lynn. Today, reporters and the sister of a man murdered in Arizona more than 20 years ago witnessed the execution of the convicted killer.
53-year-old Aaron Gunches was put to death by lethal injection today and pronounced dead at 10:33, marking a resume of executions in Arizona. Witnesses to the execution say the injection began about a quarter past the hour, and the condemned made heavy, snore-like breaths as the drug set in. ABC 15's Ashley Holden describing
a snore, a yawn, and he appeared to start losing consciousness.
While Department of Corrections staff reportedly struggled to insert an IV in Gunches' left arm, the process was described as otherwise being free of issues. Gunches reportedly made no comments and stared straight ahead during the half-hour execution process. Ballin Overstoles, KTAR News.
KTAR Focus on Immigration.
Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays recently offered guidance for Arizona schools that may have immigration officers show up at their doors.
Mays is making sure schools know the difference between an administrative and a judicial warrant and what that means for following laws keeping immigration officers out of schools.
If a law enforcement officer arrives at a school with a court order, then the requirement is that they be allowed to go into any portion of that school. If the warrant is an administrative order, there is no legal obligation to allow those officers into private areas of the school.
That's KTAR legal analyst Barry Markson, who says it's a good thing for school districts to be clear on how these warrants work to prevent unnecessary trauma for school children. Shira Tanzer, KTAR News.
Maricopa County's air quality is at risk of being designated as serious for ozone non-attainment. Environmental Protections Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin, a Republican, met with Arizona Senator Mark Kelly to talk about solutions.
And the fact that Maricopa County could do everything in its power, that Arizona could do everything in its power, and you would still be unable to hit that measure.
Kelly believes our air quality is being impacted by wildfires in Arizona and neighboring states, combined with our heat just exacerbating the pollution. More details about the first Trump-Zelensky phone call since their explosive Oval Office meeting just a few weeks ago. ABC's senior White House correspondent Selena Wang reports the two leaders spoke for almost an hour today.
In the White House readout of this call, they suggested for the first time that President Trump is interested in taking over electric and nuclear sites in Ukraine. And I just want to read to you part of the statement. It says, quote, American ownership of those plants would be the best protection for that infrastructure and support for Ukrainian energy infrastructure.
Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego is urging Governor Katie Hobbs to reject a bill that redirects sales and employee income tax to renovate Chase Field. In a letter obtained by KTAR, Gallego writes how the bill wouldn't require the Diamondbacks to help pay for renovations and how she believes the cost projections underestimate taxpayer contributions. The legislation now will head to the Senate after receiving bipartisan support in the House. It is time to check the roads this afternoon. John Roller is live in the Valley Chevy Dealers Traffic Center.
Thank you very much, Becky Lynn. Let's go around the horn, and we'll start in the West Valley, southbound Loop 303, the outer loop. We've got a crash right near Bethany Home Road, and also a crash on the southbound State Route 51. This is going to be just south of Bethany Home Road. This just coming in, so we are starting to see a backup there. Center lanes are blocked there as well. Southbound Loop 202, right near Elliott, we've got a crash. Was blocking the center lanes. DPS troopers and ADOT IRU crews trying to get this crash off to the right. Have a crash Grand Avenue and 39th Avenue, 43rd Avenue in Peoria. Look for a collision there, and a crash at Thomas just west of 27th Avenue. Traffic is brought to you by the Arizona Painting Company. The Arizona Painting Company, it's the #1 painting company in Arizona. They do it all, residential and commercial, inside and out. John Roller, KTAR News.
Looking for clear skies overnight with a low right around 50 degrees. Mostly sunny Thursday, high of 81, climbing to 83 Friday and 86 on Saturday. Right now, though, in Phoenix, it's 72. Weather brought to you by Howard Air and Plumbing. For the replace or repair, call Howard Air and Plumbing. I'm Becky Lynn on Arizona's news station, KTAR News.
Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos presents The War Room, a political symposium cutting through the noise from the Arizona State Capitol to Washington, D.C. The War Room starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the belly of the beast. We are ready for a 1-hour war room. There is Bruce. I'm Gaydos. Let's get to our panel. We've got Barry Markson right there, KTAR legal analyst. Barry, great to see you.
Good to see you, boys.
We've got Brandon Tatum, obviously former cop, Tucson. He's got the Doge baseball cap on today.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you, man.
Likewise.
Jay Feely, former Arizona Cardinals kicker, Trump supporter. Nice to see you.
It's great to be here.
Michigan Wolverine. Come on. I mean, you're going to do it all.
We're going to make a run in the NCAA tournament.
You do that.
I
got it going all the way.
I didn't have it in my notes. All right, let's kick it off with immigration and deportation. There's somewhat of a controversial story about deporting a Brown University medical professor. So let's start here. She was deported to Lebanon. She had a valid H-1B visa.
She was a doctor/professor at the college.
Correct. But she attended the funeral of a Hezbollah leader. Okay.
The leader.
Yeah. A major terrorist.
Had been the leader for 20 plus years.
Okay. So should she have been deported?
Yes.
Well,
of course not.
Why was she deported? It's more than she was just attended the funeral, right?
Yeah, it was more than just attending the funeral. It was I think some legal issues with some of her immigration status that was beyond her attending the funeral. And then there's it's allegations that she said anti-American things and made threats on campus. So that's one of the reasons. I have no problem with this whatsoever. You are not a citizen in the United States of America, or if I don't know if she's managing. No, she doesn't have dual citizenship, so she's not a citizen.
No. She was definitely on an H-1B. She was here to teach only.
And you do stuff like that, get up out of our country.
Yeah, a visa is a privilege. It's not a right. And so glorifying and supporting terrorists who kill Americans is grounds for taking your visa and denying it and saying, you know what, you don't have that privilege anymore. You know, and we've talked about on here, like I have 2 young men on visas that live with me. I talk about that with them all the time, especially now, you know, when one of them is looking at having his probation visa being revoked because of the administration right now. And so I had that conversation with him. And you have to understand how you're here and why you're here and what your purpose is. And when you go and you support a Hezbollah leader, I have no sympathy for you whatsoever.
Yeah, so look, I have no sympathy for these folks, and as far as I'm concerned, they should be deported if they're here on a visa. But I think we do have to understand that the constitutional right, the free speech rights that we enjoy in the United States are not just for citizens. They're for anybody who happens to be here at that time. Believe it or not, that's how how the Constitution works. Yep. So with this person, if you're on a student visa or any kind of a visa, I agree that it's a privilege to be here, and there's things that
even a tourist visa.
Correct. I mean, if you're going to come in and do things that are contrary to the interests of the United States, we have the opportunity to deport you. That's fine. The more interesting legal case is that guy Khalil Muhammad. I might be saying his name wrong, but Khalil, the guy who was at Columbia.
Right?
And he's, he was here on a green card, and that means he's a permanent legal resident. And that's a different story. And look, the people at Columbia, I'd like them to go pick up every one of those students that's here on a visa and boot them out of the country. So I'm not here trying to defend any of this stuff, but I do think it's important that we recognize what our laws are, we recognize due process, and let that play out. If you want to deport somebody, that's okay, but get it in front of a court, let's explain it, and let's do it lawfully, not just grab a guy up and say we're going to deport you without knowing why.
We're not suggesting that that's what happened here, right? This person was deported on grounds.
Khalil, he's still here.
No, I'm talking about the Brown University professor.
No, I moved on from her.
Oh, okay. All right. I just want to make sure that we weren't saying that somebody's
and
just being
And I think we're on the same
up.
page, Barry. There's a difference to me, though, between freedom of speech and when you're attacking, destroying buildings, when you're putting people at jeopardy just because they're Jewish, and that's what they did at Columbia.
Well, Mr. Khalil, Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia, there was no crime. He hasn't been charged with a crime. He wasn't arrested for a crime. Nothing like that.
He stood up and said he was going to try to represent as a negotiator for those people. But you're right. He wasn't part of the blockades. He wasn't harassing anybody. He didn't commit a crime.
And he has no criminal record.
And that's the part where look.
He's the leader of that movement, though.
Well,
They said that they want to overthrow pretty much the established government that we have right now.
I don't know that he said that. I think
that's what the movement stands for.
Well, yeah, the movement really stands for overthrowing Israel and getting rid of Jews.
But the current government system that we have in place right now, they want to overthrow that government system. They've made mention plenty of times.
Yeah, I don't know that
that's what they want.
I don't know that he ever said that, or that's what he was talking about.
What is the movement for? What are they arguing?
The movement is supporting Hamas and to get rid of Israel.
Right,
that's
of course. And America has a part in that. And they're against America's interest in supporting Israel.
I guess
that's what they stand for.
I have a problem with the slippery slope of the First Amendment. Right. And I am much better with sunlight as a good disinfectant. Let people say things. We let people say things about government all the time. How much they hate things, how much they wish would change, who they wish would die on any specific day. And I don't like the idea that who you associate with or what you say can get you kicked out of the country.
You want to see what people say their First Amendment right, Bruce, go to my Twitter page.
Oh, yeah.
But it's
the First Amendment is woefully misunderstood.
Yeah, but I agree with that. And I think, Jay, you said it. But if someone's there attacking schools, if they're blocking students from going to school, if they're committing crimes,
absolutely.
In Columbia and these other universities did not enforce their own rules. They did not allow the police come in to enforce laws. And those, if the Trump administration goes in and finds every one of those students and figures out who they are, and they're here on a student visa, kick them out. I have no problem with that at all.
Barry, we're on the same page.
It's incredible.
Oh my gosh,
that's incredible.
This is not going well. This is not going how I thought it would.
It's the Gaydos' nightmare.
We are inside the war room. This is why we have the war room. We have different voices, different opinions. We've got Barry Markson. We've got Brandon Tatum. We've got Jay Feely. What about what is being said about people who are being deported with no criminal record? Now, I know that some are being deported with criminal records, but a good, I don't know.
We're detaining tourists and some Americans also.
Well, that has happened too. What happened with getting rid of all the bad people first and then maybe going after others that are here illegally? It seems like it's all just been put to the middle of the table, and anyone who we kind of find is gone.
I think that's not 100% accurate.
Right.
I think what's happening is they're targeting people who have criminal records, and then if somebody's near or in the same area or they come in contact with them while doing their duties, they can't just overlook it. They can't say, "Oh, you're illegal. We're going to let you go because this guy committed a crime." Look, if
they're
you're
at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yes, unfortunately for them, if you're in our country illegally, you got to go home. I don't care. I don't know why this is even an issue in this country. If you're here illegally, you should have got your stuff together before you came over here, because there's so many people that have done it the right way. And it's unfair to them that they go through years of trying to get immigration status. They've done the right thing so many times. Yes. They paid so much money, and they're here. You can't just sneak through the back door and somehow expect to be treated equally. You got years to get this stuff together, and if you don't, get out of our country.
So here's I don't disagree with much of what you said. But again, due process. So I'll give you an extreme example. The Trump administration just deported all those Venezuelan.
We're going to get to that.
We're going to talk about.
Oh, all right. I don't want to do that next.
Don't jump ahead.
All right. Sorry, I didn't read down. So
Barry really prepared for this show.
Well, why don't we do that? Why don't we? Let's take our first break, and why don't we get into what may be an even more controversial?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good example of that.
So we've got a judge that blocked the deportation of 261 Venezuelans.
Yeah, Trump deported them anyway. We'll talk about the deportations and ignoring the will of the courts and or judges. It's coming up next inside the War Room, right here on Outspoken on KTAR.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/radio and use code radio for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/radio and use code radio at checkout.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up Oscar!
KTAR News Flash.
It's 5:14. I'm Becky Lynn, and here's what you need to know right now. President Trump is expected to sign an executive order as early as tomorrow to diminish the U.S. Department of Education. One of the promises Trump campaigned on when seeking a second term to turn over control and funding to states.
The Department of Education days could be numbered. Multiple sources tell ABC News President Trump plans to sign an executive order directing Education Secretary Linda McMahon to take all necessary steps permitted by law to dissolve the department she oversees. It follows sweeping cuts to the agency last week, slashing nearly half of the DOE workforce. Curriculum decisions are already handled at state and local levels. Critics say abolishing the Education Department will hurt underserved students and schools. Congressional approval is still needed to close the department. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
All of our top stories are just 15 minutes away. For more news, go to KTAR.com or the KTAR News app. Time for traffic check now. Here's John Roller in the Valley Chevy Dealers Traffic Center.
Becky Lynn, we've got slowing on the southbound State Route 51. We had a crash right near the Bethany Home Road off-ramp there, and this crash now has been moved off to the right. Also working a crash on the outer loop, southbound Loop 303 right near Bethany Home Road. And, of course, we are working that crash eastbound Loop 202, the Santan Freeway. This is at Elliott Road, southbound. It was blocking the center lanes. It is off to the right. We had slowing back to the Super Red Tan. That's looking much better right now. Have a crash coming in Thomas west of 27th Avenue, Dobson and Ocotillo Road, a crash in Chandler, and a crash at Grand Avenue and 39th Avenue. Traffic is brought to you by Day and Night Air Conditioning, Heating, and Plumbing. For a limited time, buy a complete HVAC system and get $2,500 off or enjoy 0% interest for 12 months. Visit dayandnightair.com if you'd like more information. John Roller, KTAR News.
Now, back to the War Room. Insight and analysis about the biggest political stories in AZ and DC.
And we're here inside the War Room with Barry Markson, Brandon Tatum, and Jay Feely. We're going to pick right up where we left off with the concept of due process when it comes to deporting people that are suspected of either being criminals or in the country illegally.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about these Venezuelans who were deported and the courts and the
261 or whatever it was,
but there are some reports now that some of the people that were included in that deportation group, at least according to their families, we have no idea if this is true or not, but that they're not gang members, that they're not criminals, that they had tattoos, and they're Venezuelan, and so they were just kind of rounded up and sent away, and this is where that due process part comes in, because it isn't just deporting them. If it's just going to say, hey, we're sending you back to wherever you're from,
well, Venezuela wouldn't take them. That's why they went to El Salvador. Part of the reason. But
the problem with going to El Salvador is they're not just being sent to El Salvador to go live their life there and being deported, which was what normally happens to illegal immigrants. They're being put in a maximum security El Salvadorian prison, which is literally 23 hours of solitary confinement in the dark.
We're paying El Salvador for this,
and we're paying and paying
a lot.
But a discount. But that's the problem. If we're sending gang criminals to do that, fine. I have no problem with that.
That's what it's being alleged.
But Brandon, you're a police officer.
No.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
The DOJ in front of the judge yesterday said we cannot. They do not all have criminal records. They admitted it.
They don't need.
They had to under oath.
You can be part of a gang and not have a criminal record.
They said absolutely not all of them are in a gang. We don't all have criminal records.
As a former police officer, just because you don't currently or we're not aware of crimes that you've committed doesn't mean you haven't committed crimes. But also, it's not like the government or ICE is looking at you and saying, let's pick a random tattoo. They have a whole protocol of tattoos that are associated with gang involvement, and they see it on these people, and it's clear as the noonday sun. They're not going to just randomly pick a tattoo and say, we think this about you.
But Brandon,
they have a whole protocol of tattoos that they already know are associated with these gangs. These people have other contributing factors to make them believe that, and they deport them. But they're in our country illegally to start with.
That's fine. Then go through due process. Have a hearing and go through it.
We will from El Salvador.
If I'm standing with 5 of my friends, and 3 of them are criminals and have done something, but I don't know, and I haven't done anything, I just happen to be standing with them, and the police come in and raid us and grab us all up, and then throw me, forget about deporting me, but throw me in prison, into a maximum security prison, and treat me like them, even though I haven't done anything. That's not right.
They have nowhere else to go. They cannot go to Venezuela, so they have to go to El Salvador. They're being held there while we finish our investigation.
Put them in Guantanamo.
We don't have to do none of that stuff because these people shouldn't be in our country in the first place.
So I will just say that the president unequivocally has the authority to deport criminals and gang members. And this district judge who tries to join it and tries to stop it, the Supreme Court explicitly ruled on it, 1948. And precedent has been set. Every Supreme Court has gone back and held up that precedent. The Alien Enemy Act, which is what they used, it precludes judicial review. So there is no review for the removal order. That line is literally the first sentence of the SCOTUS holding. So that's what it is.
Yes, but it doesn't rise to the level of alien enemies.
I love
yes,
this.
it does.
I love it.
I know
not
you're
in any crazy world.
I just did my
No.
research.
Not at all.
I think it's first we have to point out that Jay Feely is talking law, so I'm going to talk about kicking for a minute and really get us focused. But it's first of all,
he has common sense. I think he can look at the law and read it.
No, that's not how.
I think the comparison is can he read?
And this is the problem, Brandon.
Yes, he can.
You can't just look at something and read it and think you understand how the law works. This is a 1798 law that's only been used 3 times in the history of the entire country, and it's only been used and it's written on its face for when we are at war with a particular country. It has never.
We are not at war with Venezuela.
Not just war.
It has never been used ever in this context before. And my point is, if you want to use it, then let it run through the system. Look, the Trump administration, what's his name? The bald guy.
Homan?
Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller has spent
Stephen Miller's a moron.
He is an absolute living, breathing moron.
He articulated very clearly.
Idiot.
He articulated very clearly on the news.
No, he didn't.
For 10 minutes.
On the news. Guys, here's the deal.
He's a
Stephen
moron.
Miller spent the last 4 years looking at every archaic law that provided additional authority to the president. That's all he did. And now he's trying to fit a square puzzle piece into a round circle to say, I'm going to make sure Trump has this power.
The last time we
That's
used
all this
it
is.
was against Japanese during World War II.
Let's get this clear.
Japan attacked us.
The judge has no jurisdiction to even rule on this in the first place.
That's not even a
You don't know what jurisdiction is, and you don't know what you're talking about.
He's not a part of the executive branch.
Hang on. We're inside the war room. We got Barry Markson. We got Brandon Tatum. We got Jay Feely. So the Trump administration defied the court order that would have halted the deportation of these alleged Venezuelan gang members. Okay. I thought that the judge, after a judge rules that we're done here, the only thing that you
there is an issue with timing.
Hang on. The one thing that you can do is appeal. Right. You can't deport before you appeal. So my question is, are we going to see a president look at a court case and say, I don't care what the judge says, I'm just going to do what I want?
It's continued lawfare, though. I mean, I'm going to quote Alexander Hamilton here in the Federalist Papers.
No.
There is no liberty if the power of judging be not separated from the legislative and the executive powers. If the executive branch, which is the chief executive, the president, is
I don't want to live in the non-democracy that you're wishing for.
Look,
I'm not going to live in it. If there's no separation, then democracy is a fake.
If you want to argue law, we can do that. This is the most ridiculous. You're misapplying what you're reading. The judicial branch is there in our 3 levels of government, or 3 parts of government, to make sure that that legislation is constitutional and what the executive branch does is constitutional. And by the way, when Biden was president, Obama was president, were you up in arms every time the Republicans filed a lawsuit in a specific district court case and they issued a nationwide injunction to stop something?
It's a really good point,
That's exactly what happened here. This is what judges do. And the answer isn't to impeach the judge. The answer isn't to go in and bash the judge. The answer is to appeal. File the appeal.
There's
the question
a process.
Gaydos
He
is
does
asking.
not have jurisdiction.
He does have jurisdiction.
Hold on. It's a really good point.
He has jurisdiction.
It's a really good point that Barry makes.
Let's get Jay in here.
Except in the last 20 years, 67% of those judicial injunctions have come from Democrats. That's the problem, is that there's lawfare specific to Donald Trump and the Republicans.
This is, by the way, this is the same judge who ordered the release of Hillary Clinton's emails. He's the same judge that dismissed the Trump tax return lawsuit. He's the same judge that upheld work requirements for the Medicaid program in Kentucky. He's the same judge who limited the scope of the Mueller investigation disclosure. He's the same judge that issued lighter sentences for J6 rioters and prosecutors.
He's obviously
he's obviously a lunatic
No,
left-winger.
if you claiming that
You just don't like this one
if you
thing.
claiming all those things are valid, then why Trump have a problem with it?
Because
it didn't go his way. That's why. He doesn't want judges to tell him no. He doesn't care about the law.
That's not true. They don't have jurisdiction. That judge should not be meddling or have anything to do with national security. That's not in the executive branch.
Why do you guys hate democracy so much?
Well,
That's what I want to know.
Democracy?
Yeah.
Why do you hate Trump so much?
Three branches of government. 3 branches of government.
How many injunctions did Obama have in his 8 years? How many? Do you know?
Injunctions?
Yes.
How many
district court judges had an injunction on him? About 12.
How many illegal acts did he try?
I just told you, 67% in this century are against Trump, and 92% are their Democrat-appointed judges.
Because Trump is the one. Because it's not lawfare.
Why do you support
lawfare when you break the law?
Why do you support gang members?
If I run down the street,
illegal gang members being in our country. Why do you support that?
I support due process of the law.
Hold on, Barry. One at a time.
If I run down the street shooting people and robbing stores and I commit 12 crimes, does that mean I compare to the one that happened over here? Trump is purposely doing things to test the system, trying to create additional executive powers that we haven't experienced before. That's exactly what he's doing.
Protecting the American people.
He's
getting Venezuelan gang members out of this country.
If we're going to, yes, I have
Which
no
is
problem
what
with
he
that.
campaigned on, and what he got
Nobody should
elected
have a
on.
problem with
Do
it.
it
We're going to leave
legally.
it.
Process.
We're going to leave it there.
Legally.
Follow the law.
We are going to leave it there. Coming up next, we're inside the war room. Trump's actions 2 months into office. How does the economy look? How do Americans think the economy looks? Are we feeling more uncertain than ever? It's showing in the stock market. Is there a recession on the way? We're going to talk economy with our panel in the war room next.
You to a Teacher, presented by Your Valley Toyota dealers. We want to lift up amazing Arizona teachers. So tell us about an outstanding teacher worthy of a $2,500 check by texting teacher to 620-620. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, let's talk about ARIA Dental Implant Center and why it is more affordable now to go to ARIA than ever. So if you have a family member, maybe this is you, broken or missing teeth, you have painful teeth, you try and eat, my goodness, it hurts. What do? First thing, you call Dr. Joe at ARIA Dental Implant Center. And you know what? We can talk pricing, okay? They have transparent pricing. They'll show you and they'll tell you why you can save thousands of dollars compared to the corporate dental implant centers. So ARIA is local. What does that mean? It means that they can pass their savings on to you if you become a patient. And that savings will be $21,000 because the corporate dental implant centers will charge you over that, right? So basically you're going to go in, you're going to get a whole new life, a brand new set of teeth. And if you go to ARIA, you'll save $21,000. This month, mention Gaydos, 0% financing for 24 months. All you have to do is go to ARIADentalImplantCenter.com.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best, just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 480-990-3300. That's 480-990-3300.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
As most of you know, I'm a patient of the Schwartz Laser Eye Center, where I had LASIK surgery done 15 years ago. My colleague and Sun's PA announcer, Vince Murata, also a client of Dr. Jay Schwartz, and now we can add Sun's play-by-play announcer, Kevin Ray, to the mix. K-Ray recently had the clear lens exchange using the second-generation light-adjustable lens to correct his vision. This incredible technology just came out earlier this year, and the Schwartz Laser Eye Center has it. With 3 locations in the Valley, let the Schwartz Laser Eye Center help you. Call Dr. Jay Schwartz at 480-483-EYES or go online at teameydoc.com.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. Your car, running or not, could be picked up as soon as the next day. No title, no problem. Go to carsforkids.org today.
1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
My friends at Window World of Phoenix provide the best value in quality replacement windows, patio doors, and entry doors. You always get their lowest pricing up front without any salesy gimmicks, like 6 large premium vinyl siding windows, all with Solar Zone Sunshield glass, tax included, and installed for one low upfront price of only $4,725. So, while other contractors jack up their prices every few months, at Window World you get an affordable upfront price that's often less than half the cost of the other guys. Folks, this is what's called a no-brainer in home remodeling. Plus, they back it up with a true lifetime warranty. See for yourself why over half of all new Window World customers come from happy referrals. Schedule today at windowworldphoenix.com. That's windowworldphoenix.com. Window World, simply the best for less.
Hi, it's Jess, the co-founder of Bodify. Are you still struggling with fat? Are you ready for real results? Bodify is bringing you the ultimate fat-blasting combo. We're now offering semaglutide, the game changer everyone's raving about. For a limited time, Cool Sculpting clients get up to $2,000 off, plus your first month of semaglutide for just $99. Don't miss out. This offer won't last. Visit freezemeaz.com to lock in your savings. That's freezemeaz.com.
Everything's a little better when it's super. Heroes, markets, sized, and of course, checks. A super check gives you an in-depth review of your current insurance coverage with a Farm Bureau Financial Services agent, no matter who your insurance provider is. That's super cool. Talk to a Farm Bureau agent to make sure you're properly covered at fbfs.com/protect. It's your future. Let's protect it. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company.
KTAR News now.
It's 5:30. Good afternoon. I'm Becky Lynn. Today, 53-year-old Aaron Gunches was put to death by lethal injection and pronounced dead at 10:33, marking a resuming of executions here in Arizona. Witnesses to the execution say the injections began about a quarter past the hour, and the condemned made heavy snoring-like breaths as the drug set in. Troy Hayden with 12 News was there, adding,
in previous executions I've seen, the condemned will look out to the witnesses. I never saw him look out.
Department of Corrections staff reportedly struggled to insert an IV in Gunch's left arm, but the process was described as otherwise being free of issues.
One of our big issues has to do with air quality.
And Arizona lawmakers working with President Trump's EPA administrator on our air quality issues.
Arizona Senator Mark Kelly believes our air quality is being impacted by wildfires in other states because Maricopa County cannot meet sufficient ozone levels despite having reduced emissions.
Because what we want here in Maricopa County and across the state is clean air, lower ozone, but at the same time have a growing economy.
EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin added, Arizona is doing everything in its power to bring down ozone levels, and it's still not enough to meet the metric, which is concerning. Heidi Hommel, KTAR News.
The happiest country in the world for 2025 is a returning champ.
Finland is the happiest country in the world for the 8th year running. According to the annual World Happiness Report, Finns on average rate their lives at a 7.74 out of 10. Denmark was named second happiest, with Costa Rica and Mexico entering the top 10 for the first time. The United States came in 24th, its lowest ranking in the report's history. Afghanistan, meanwhile, ranked unhappiest, with residents there rating their lives 1.36 out of 10 on average. Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
Hopefully the traffic is pretty happy this afternoon. Let's find out. Here's John Roller in the Valley Chevy Dealers Traffic Center.
I don't know if the Finns have the freeways that we do. It's a little congested this afternoon. We are working to clear away some crashes. Southbound Loop 303, the outer loop, had an earlier crash near Bethany Home Road, and that is in the clearing stages. Over in the East Valley, southbound Loop 202, the Santan Freeway, had an earlier crash right near Elliott, and this was blocking center lanes. This, too, is now off to the right. And another crash, southbound State Route 51, had a crash just adjacent to the Bethany Home Road off-ramp, and it is off to the right as well. 15th Avenue in McDowell, look for a collision there. Thomas west of 27th Avenue, you've got a crash there, and a crash in Chandler this afternoon, Dobson and Ocotillo Road. Traffic is brought to you by Dolphin Pools. For a limited time, we're offering a free travertine deck upgrade on every Dolphin Pool package. If you'd like to learn more, visit dolphinpools.us today. John Roller, KTAR News.
Overnight, we're looking for a low of right around 50 degrees. Tomorrow, 81 for a high and then 83 by Friday. Currently in Tempe, it is 72 degrees. Weather brought to you by Howard Air and Plumbing. Whether replace or repair, call Howard Air and Plumbing. I'm Becky Lynn on Arizona's news station, KTAR News.
Now, back to the War Room. Insight and analysis about the biggest political stories in AZ and DC.
Hey, let's jump back into the War Room second half. Jay Feely, former Cards kicker, Trump supporter, Got Brandon Tatum, former police officer, is wearing his Doge baseball cap.
Sir.
And we've got Barry Markson, KTAR legal analyst. We're going to turn to the economy. All right, NBC News poll, only 18% of voters rate the economy as excellent or good. The Fed today left rates unchanged. It's also forecast higher inflation, weaker GDP. We've got Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair, saying uncertainty is remarkably high. We've got Moody's Analytics chief economist saying that Trump is putting us in a recession by design.
Yeah.
All right. I saw the Dow again today. It was up, but it's down about 2,000 points since Trump took over. And I'd like to retire one day. I don't want to deal with Bruce all the time.
Nor should you. Poor thing.
Is Trump triggering a recession on purpose?
I highly doubt it. Well, if you look at all these wealthy, successful billionaires that are now supporting Donald Trump, and they've been supporting him from the beginning, they're still lockstep with Donald Trump. I think they know more than a lot of us do. I think they're supporting him because they know he has a plan that eventually is going to work its way through. And by the end of his 4 years, we're going to see an increase. It's going to be turbulent times. It always happens like this. And that's just like if you want to day trade.
When did it ever happen like this?
Listen, if you're a day trader, yeah, you're probably scared of the market when it dips every now and again. But over time, we will see if it will yield positive results. I think he's acting in good faith. I think he's doing a lot of things that can positively benefit America.
What's the plan? Tell me what the plan is.
I'll tell you what the plan is when you get to me.
Well, let's hear. Brandon said there's a plan. Let's hear him first.
Go ahead, jump in.
I'll tell you what the plan is.
There's no plan.
There's absolutely a plan.
Are you reading this too?
I took notes, Barry. I'm sorry you didn't prepare for the show. I did. Trump, here's what first of all, he has a long-term perspective. So it's been 2 months. You know that there's going to be tough times. You're trying to cut spending and cut waste. There was $8 trillion of stimulus money artificially put into our economy by the Biden administration, even though Larry Summers told them it was going to create inflation like we've never seen before. It's exactly what happened. And so when you come in and you're going to try to cut that, you're going to have an economy that's going to have uncertainty. I heard both of you guys talking about that yesterday.
Yeah.
That leads to the stock market going down and people being unsure. His perspective, what he wants to do, he wants to bring down the massive debt without causing a recession. He wants real wages to come back up by bringing back manufacturing. He wants to deregulate and create a better business environment and try to cut expenses while increasing growth over 3%. And then lastly, he wants cheap energy that's going to bring down all the costs for everyone. That's his plan.
Does Trump
send you those talking points, or do you have to go online and pick them out?
No, it's called facts.
I know you'd like to say,
those are facts.
Those are opinions. I know exactly. I try to educate myself, Barry. Those are all facts.
Okay, let's talk about the reality of it now. First of all, this is not what normally happens. Brandon, you said this always happens.
Thank God he's not doing what normally happens.
So what was the inflation rate in the last 6 months of last year? Was it above or below 3%?
It went down.
Okay.
So why did it go down? Because they increased energy production by deregulating and trying to win an election.
Right,
we talked about this before.
I let you read your points. Let's talk about some facts now. In reality, the most oil production this country has ever done was 2024 under Biden. You know what was second?
Why was that?
Do you know what was second? 2023 under Biden. We are producing more energy. Guys, we are producing more energy under Biden than we ever have in this country, including under four. Well, it's true, Brandon.
It's true because they were losing. They knew they were losing. Inflation was rampant.
Who do you think?
So they tried
Hold on. Who do you think drills for oil? The government?
This is unbelievable.
No, it's private companies.
Everything is Trump is right, and regardless of the facts. Inflation was at an all-time low at the end of this year, at the end of Biden's presidency. The GDP
inflation was only at a low if you look at year after year, not cumulative.
Do I get to talk at all?
Yes,
or you're just
but you got to
me?
say things that you say. These are facts, but they're not facts.
They are facts. You just read a bunch of stuff that you say Trump wants to do. They're not facts.
They are facts.
No, that's what Trump. You think it's what he wants to do. I asked Brandon what the plan was. He has no idea.
No, it's not
because
that.
there's no plan. Why? So
I'm not the only person on the panel here.
Well, you guys are teaming up.
You think
his
plan is to ruin this country?
Is
that what you're saying?
No, I think the plan is to make sure a whole bunch of billionaires make a whole bunch of money.
That makes sense.
Hang on. You said one of your facts is he wants to cut the deficit, right? Or he wants to cut debt.
Yeah, he wants to cut spending and reduce the debt.
The only plan that is in Congress right now, the only plan Trump has talked about, will increase the debt $4 to $4.5 trillion.
Let's see if that happens.
Okay, so when they come in with their plan this year hang on a second, to cut taxes and do this other cutting, but to cut taxes and to spend more money, and it's going to increase the debt by $4 trillion. Hang on, you're going to come on here and say this is bad. We shouldn't be doing this. Trump is
100%. I will.
Wait. I want to hear
mark that.
I want to hear what Brandon has to say. Go ahead.
No, I just think that we got to put this in perspective. If you don't look at through the lens of Trump derangement syndrome, you can see that I think that Trump has our best interests at heart, and so do all the other people that support him. All these billionaires, they know what it takes. It's going to be some turbulent times in the beginning because he's doing things that are unprecedented. Trying to cut spending in our government with DOGE and all these other things, all these programs that none of the other administrations would ever think to do. They don't care about helping the American people. I think we should give Donald Trump a chance and let his plan be fulfilled. And then in 4 years, if we are in a worse place than we were, if the economy is terrible, I'll come on this show and I'll say the guy sucks. But the guy's only been in office for 50-plus days. You got to give it a chance.
Is it part of the plan to put tariffs on countries and take them off and put them back on and take them off?
Yes,
absolutely.
They work.
Really? That worked?
They work. We talked about this.
Hang on. Let me ask you a real question. Yeah. Are the tariffs there to make the United States money because it brings money into the government?
That's a secondary.
Tell me what the reasons for the tariffs are.
There's twofold. It's to bring in revenue, external revenue into the country so that the people aren't dealing with the demand so much.
Who do you think?
And then also, it's strategic, right?
Yes.
When we want countries to do what we need them to do, sometimes we got to impose tariffs. We saw it in Canada. We saw it in Mexico. They begin to change their tempo, and then Trump can pause the tariffs.
He's using it.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
They put troops on the border just like he wanted them to.
They had already done that under Biden.
They all of a sudden they enacted when he did the tariffs.
No, they know how to lie to him.
They issued the same press release they did in December.
They know how to lie to him. He knows what he wants to hear.
Like the guy's an idiot. It's crazy.
You said it, not me.
The reason the market is down 10%. The reason the businesses are not spending money now is the chaos that Trump creates. He did it when he was president last time. He's doing it against now.
I'll make a point on that,
reacts. It's as you just said. I think it was off here.
Let's get Jay and
He
Barry.
reacts to things. There is no plan. He's just reacting.
That's crazy. You think he don't have a plan?
I totally disagree with that. But I will say here's a fact for you because you like facts. There's $36 trillion in debt currently, $28 trillion of which matures over the next 4 years. We can't sustain where we are. We can't sell the treasuries. It's not going to stay at 4%. So we either have to pay 6% or the Fed has to buy it all.
So why do you have a continuing resolution and budgets that add to the deficit?
The continuing resolution they had to do, even though I wanted to cut spending and I wanted to reduce the government, they had to have stability over the next 7 months.
Both parties.
But there were no additions to it.
So you think in 7 months or sometime in the next 7 months, the budget that the Republicans will propose is going to not just cut spending, it's going to cut the deficit and cut the debt. You think we're going to balance the budget and start to cut the debt?
I think what Trump and Elon are doing is they are trying to show all the waste and the fraud that exists in our system. And they want the American people and Congress to get rid of the waste and fraud. That should not be a controversy.
Who do you think voted for the waste and the fraud?
Right,
every member of Congress voted for this.
Everybody
we got to leave it at that.
Cut it.
We got to just say one more thing.
We got to go.
75% of the spending is Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, defense, and interest payments.
And even Biden and Obama both said there was complete waste and fraud in all of those programs.
Not enough to cut $2 trillion.
They said that.
Yep. We're inside the war room. We've got Barry Markson, we've got Jay Feely, we've got Brandon Tatum. Bruce, what's up next?
Why are we friends with Russia and enemies with Canada? We'll talk about it next. Outspoken inside the war room on KTAR.
All right, America Roofing, everybody. You know, their phones have been ringing off the hook, especially last week. A lot of rain. Well, when it doesn't rain for a while, and then all of a sudden it rains for 3 days, some people are going to get a leak in their roof. Some people have had that leak for many, many years possibly, and now it's just, showing itself. So what do? Well, you've got to get your roof ready, and the way to do that is to call America Roofing. All you have to do is go and check them out, AmericaRoofingCo.com. Do a little research, check them out. They've been around the industry for a very, very long time, and they certainly are going to help you. They can evaluate your roof for free. When they get up there, if they find something that's wrong with it, they'll provide you a free estimate as well. All right? They can repair. They can replace your roof. And all you have to do is call them. Here's their phone number, 602-960-ROOF, 960-ROOF, 960-ROOF. America Roofing, we've got you covered.
What will happen with your estate when you pass away? By protecting your estate with a living trust, you could ensure that your home and your other assets will be seamlessly passed on to who you want when you want. Plus, if you're at least 60 years old, you can save 65% on a living trust with RJP Estate Planning. If you're relying solely on a will to pass down your assets, your estate could be tied up in probate court for years and cost tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees. And the people you love would have to pay these fees up front before they could get what's left of their inheritance. But you could avoid this by contacting RJP Estate Planning, who's helped over 40,000 families since 1995.
To save 65% on a living trust, call 480-896-9597. That's 480-896-9597. This offer ends on March 19th. Call 480-896-9597.
My name is John. I've been Republican my whole life. I voted for Donald Trump. But when I hear how Republicans in Congress want to cut Medicaid, that's just wrong.
Right now, some Republicans in Congress are trying to make major cuts to Medicaid. These cuts could take health care coverage away from millions of veterans, children with disabilities, and seniors in nursing homes. The Republicans who propose them may not realize these Medicaid cuts hurt everyone, including Americans who voted for them.
Medicaid should not be about politics. Too many people rely on it every day for their health care. I'm a Republican, and my message to Republicans in Congress is this: stop these cuts to Medicaid.
Call Congressman Schweikert at 202-225-2190 and tell him to stop these cuts to Medicaid. Paid for by Save My Care.
KTAR News Flash.
At 5:45, I'm Becky Lynn. Here's what you need to know right now. With a now vacant seat in Arizona's U.S. congressional delegation after the death of Raul Grijalva, names are starting to surface as to who might take up the role. Among them, Arizona's Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes, who tells the Mike Broomhead Show he's giving the choice to run the consideration it deserves.
This is really an exercise in serious contemplation. You know, it's not just me saying I'm thinking about it, meanwhile doing it. I genuinely am thinking about it and making the preparations just in case.
Fontes must declare if he's running in just under a month. Petitions are due April 14th. All of our top stories are just 15 minutes away. For more news, go to KTAR.com or the KTAR News app. Looking at the roads for us now. It's John Roller in the Valley Chevy Dealers Traffic Center.
All right, we're starting to get on top of those earlier crashes on the main lines. We still have some slowing coming through the downtown area, westbound I-10, starting at the mini stack all the way over to about 75th Avenue. And then again, you'll reload at Avondale Boulevard all the way out to the 303. Got a crash off right westbound Loop 202, the Red Mountain Freeway, right near 24th Street. This is off to the right. New crash coming in Scottsdale Road and Gilbert Road. That is north of the Loop 202, Red Mountain Freeway, the North Tempe Gilbert Road there, that is. Also working a crash 7th Street and Greenway, 15th Avenue in McDowell, and a crash at Thomas just west of 27th Avenue. Traffic is brought to you by the Beatitudes Campus. Learn about the important legal documents you should have and why at the Beatitudes Campus on Friday, March 21st from 4 to 6 p.m. John Roller, KTAR News.
Jan from Toyota here. Have you felt cooped up from winter? Well, now until March 31st is the perfect time for a new Toyota, like Camry, Tundra, Grand Highlander, and more. So you can get back out there and do the things you love, like strapping your bikes into the bed of a Tundra to find some new trails. Too steep! Too steep! Off-roading with your best buds in a 4Runner.
Woohoo! I feel alive again!
Packing a Camry full of plants to redo your garden.
Whew, my green thumb is back.
Loading up rods and reels into a Corolla Cross for a fly fishing trip. I got one!
Hey!
Sorry. And hitching up the boat to a Grand Highlander for a lake day.
I haven't water skied in a long time!
Live out your spring fantasies with a new Toyota. Come in today.
Go from dreaming it to driving it. Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Toyota, let's go places.
When it comes to great deals on tax prep, Jackson Hewitt isn't holding back, and neither is this commercial. Their offer is so big, it has to be said with Reverb. Expert tax prep for $149 or less. It's a deal so spectacular, it needs a symphony, some explosions, and a clock ticky, because this offer, $149 or less. And soon, one expert tax prep for $149 or less. Try Jackson Hewitt today and save. Whew. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
Welcome to Staples.
I hear Staples prints it all for any business.
You bet, and we'll beat any print quote.
So if I had a pizza place...
Staples can print signs, menus, pizza boxes.
A landscaping business?
Oh, we can print yard signs, T-shirts, brochures.
How about a pizza/landscaping business? I'll call it Dough and Mo.
I like it.
Right now at Staples, get up to $250 off your print purchase. Ends 4/5, exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for offer details. Price match guarantee valid in store and staples.com/print. Visit staples.com/price match for details.
Now, back to the War Room. Insight and analysis about the biggest political stories in AZ and DC.
We are inside the War Room. Our esteemed panel today, Jay Feely, Barry Markson, Brandon Tatum, and our final segment, if you will, as we dive into it, is the interesting / odd relationship that Trump has with Russia, and conversely, the problems he has with Canada. Let's just use those two as bookend examples. Does that make you guys uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form that he cozies up to Putin and thinks the Canadians are, what he called them, nasty the other day?
It's kind of insane to think he's cozying up to Putin. I think we should have a diplomatic relationship with people if we want to have a ceasefire, we want to have some fairness. It is absolutely asinine for someone to say, we're not going to talk to Putin at all, he's a terrorist, but then you expect something to be resolved in the Ukrainian issue. I think Donald Trump is smart enough, he's man enough, bold enough to have a conversation, at least have open dialogue with anyone. That's how we get things done.
George W. Bush had a good relationship with Putin.
There's nothing wrong with having a good relationship, or at least a working relationship. You don't have to like the guy.
I agree with you. There's no problem in having the leaders should have a relationship with each other. That's a good thing, and there should be open dialogue. The issue here with Russia is that in the initial meeting with Putin, and everything that's made public at least, is that we're just saying immediately. I mean, look, I do negotiations for a living. This is what I do every single day. To come out and immediately say Ukraine's going to have to give up territory, Ukraine's not going to be in NATO, Ukraine's going to have to do this and this, and
we promised them that Ukraine wasn't going to be in NATO.
But you don't say that before you start to negotiate. That is a leverage point. You tell Russia, if you give us this, we will guarantee you.
I think we're past that point.
We also promised to defend Ukraine if they gave up their nuclear weapons.
We did that
against Russia.
We have been defending them to no end.
So I will just say this in regard, there's two things. Let me just say what I believe, and let me say something personal. Zelensky was going to agree to a peace deal, and Biden scuttled that deal. That peace deal that he was going to agree to was better than anything he's going to get now. Even when you go back and you look at Minsk 1 and 2, what he had there is better than he's going to get whenever a deal gets done. But I want a deal to get done. I sat on a plane from Poland to Israel with 100 mothers and daughters and wives, Ukrainian Jews who were going to Israel, living there to escape. None of their sons or their husbands were with them, and watched just the horrific pain that they had on their faces. Anything we can do to get this done and for this war to be over, and for those people, because that's who suffers the most, are the people from Ukraine being killed on a daily basis.
I agree with you, but it has to be done in a way where Ukraine has independence, Ukraine can govern themselves, they can have a democracy. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, and I think we're all in agreement on what Trump is doing with Israel and letting Israel loose and giving them whatever weapons they need and all that. Why is it, and I'm for that, why are we against the same thing? Why isn't Trump going to Ukraine and saying, we're going to give you anything you need, and if Russia doesn't agree to stop this war now and withdraw its troops, whatever Trump's always said, all hell will break loose.
Russia is Hamas in this scenario.
No, but they are a nuclear power too. So you have to be very careful how you navigate that. You don't want to go in there and say, we're going to defend you to no end, and then we get in a world war.
And the second point is, it was the most corrupt country in the world prior to the war. And so the dollars that we're spending are asinine, and there's no accountability for those dollars. I think that's one of the biggest problems that Americans have when we look at that war.
That being said, and we only have a minute left, why does he trash Canada so much? I thought at the beginning, the 51st state.
He said it yesterday.
I actually thought it was funny. I didn't really think he was serious. I thought he was literally joking.
Yeah. I would just say
he's not.
Canada needs us more than we need them.
Okay,
75% of their goods that are sold to the U.S.
So do a lot of nations.
So
everybody
we
needs
can
us.
leverage that. And if they're not going to give us a good deal, then he's going to try to get us a better deal.
What good deal were they not giving us? What was the problem before?
Were we not getting enough maple syrup? What's the deal?
I don't understand what the issue was. What were they not doing?
It sounds to me like it's a personal thing.
I think what it is.
I don't know what it is.
Trump's people have been reading books about American expansionism in the 1800s, and that's why Trump's talking about we want Greenland, we want Canada.
We don't want Canada. It's a joke. We don't want Canada.
Well,
Canada would be a blue state with all kind of senators and House of Representatives.
It actually would be the country. It would be 6 blue states.
Right, exactly. So when I'm talking about all the expansion of the Democrat Party, that's what it would be. We don't want them.
So he's trolling.
But the Canadian government does a fine job of ruining their economy by themselves. They don't need Trump to do it.
All right, that's it. That's the war room.
All right, there you have it.
You got to jump in when you get a second, right?
There you go.
And end it, right?
Appreciate all of you guys being with us today. Again, Barry Markson, Brandon Tatum, Jay Feely, thank you for being inside the war room. We've got a quick check of the headlines on the way. And then on the other side, if you're selling your house in Gilbert, Arizona, do you need to disclose that you live next door to one of the Gilbert goons? Oh, we'll talk about a couple that's debating that. It's coming up next. We're Outspoken on KTAR.
Tired of fighting for your store's last bottle of water or lugging hundreds of bottles of water each year from the store to the car to the fridge to the recycling? For less than $1 a day from Parker & Sons, you can have an unlimited supply of bottle quality water right at your tap. Drinking water keeps you healthier, aids in weight loss,